are going on a little bit of a field trip ourselves. We're going out on the BYU Lichens tour. We'll put the link to that down below. You guys can go ahead and follow along with that if you would like. But right now we're going to talk a bit about lichens. Now, some of you might never have heard of a lichen. It's spelled L-I-C-H-E-N. So it looks like it's pronounced lichen, but it's lichen. Okay? And you may not have heard of a lichen, but you've definitely seen one. So we have a couple different lichens on this tree that we're going to start with right here. You can see all this greenish, yellowish, orange stuff. Even these little tiny kind of sage gray little bits. All of these are various different kinds of lichen that are growing here on this tree. Now, a lichen is a really, really cool organism. It is actually two organisms that are living symbiotically, which means that they mutually benefit each other. They are going to, so it's a fungus, so something like a mushroom, that's the same kingdom as that. So it's a fungus and an algae or cyanobacteria. So that's a little bit of a complicated word. Think about if you took a mushroom and a seaweed and you blended it together, you get a lichen. That's the very simplified version of it. So we have some lichens. They come in a different couple of forms. So we're gonna get to see some of those forms today as we're looking. Our first one here, the yellow and orange, is the crustiose form, which is easy to remember because it looks like a crust on this tree. You'll get to see them on lots of different kinds of trees, on rocks, on things like that. So that's what we're going to be looking at. And then over here, we have these ones. They are a different form. These ones are the folios. So if we look right here at these kind of grayish ones, these ones are the foliose form. They look a little bit more like a leaf, which is where the name comes from. Foliose is like foliage, so it's how you can kind of remember, right? So it's like a leaf, and there's another one called the fruticose form, and it's like a little branch. So we're going to see a couple different forms of lichens as we're looking today on campus. So let's go take a look at some lichens. So we're at the second stop on the BYU Lichen Tour. We're not going to film every single one. We're not going to show you all of them so that we can keep the mystery alive for when you guys go on the tour. But I stopped here to talk a little bit more about lichens and how they work. Now this one's a little bit harder to see. It's called the tree shadow lichen. And it's all this gray leafy stuff right here on the tree. So we're gonna get a close-up of that. So this dark gray stuff right here, that right there is the tree shadow lichen. And you can see a couple other, these little orange ones. Those are also lichens of a different variety. But we stopped here to talk about that symbiotic relationship that I talked about at the last tree. So how it works is that the fungus is everything that we see of a lichen. All right, and inside is the algae or the cyanobacteria. So we basically have a crust of the fungus on the outside, and then in between is the algae, and then another crust of the fungus. So it's kind of like an algae fungus sandwich, all right, with the algae in the middle. Now this benefits the fungus because the algae is able to photosynthesize. So it's able to take energy from the sun and distribute it into sugars for itself. That's not something that the fungus can do on its own. Now the algae inside also benefits because if it was left just on its own without the fungus giving it that protective layer, it would reside in really small amounts. But because it can have a nice, safe, protective layer within the fungus, it's able to spread out in huge amounts and really, really grow. So that's how they both benefit each other.
Hey everybody, Sarah here. I'm just popping in to tell you guys gotta be creative and you gotta be tough when you're looking for these lichen, okay? Sometimes they're gonna be at the base of these trees. I've even seen them on leaves and branches. They could be on a rock. They might be on the cement or attached to a building. They could be anywhere. So you gotta be careful and you gotta keep your eyes peeled. These are resilient creatures, so look for them and look for them hard. outside the Wilkinson Center with 2 special lichen, okay? Our first one is up top here. This is our hammered shield lichen. It is a foliose structure. And down below, this is our dotted Ramelina lichen, which is a fruticose lichen. So you can kind of compare these 2 structures. See, this one is a lot more flat, looking a lot more like a leaf, and this one has a lot more depth and dimension to it, and is kind of hanging as if it could be a branch carrying fruit.
All right, guys. So we are back over here where we've been walking along the lichen tour. Now, one thing that's really cool about lichens is that there's still so many to discover, even somewhere like BYU campus. So this lichen right here, you can see these dark spots that are all over the concrete. These lichens are still unidentified. We're not sure what kind of lichen they are, and lichenologists are always looking for new lichens. So what's really cool, guys, is that when you're looking at lichens, you might be looking at a species that is yet unidentified.
Lichen on the BYU lichen tour. This is our ring fire dot lichen all along here. We want to invite you guys, make sure you do your activity this week, which is to go on your own lichen tour. So follow the BYU lichen tour or create your own. Make sure when you're out there that you don't pick off those lichen. They take a long time to form and develop. So just look at them with your eyes, take photos of the lichen that you don't recognize and look them up later, and make sure that you post them and paste them into your field journal. Comment down below how your tour goes. We can't wait to hear from you guys. See you next week.